Kevin Costner, one of Hollywood's most respected actors and filmmakers, has long been synonymous with cinematic greatness. Known for his memorable roles in films such as Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, and Field of Dreams, Costner was a towering figure in the entertainment world during the 1,980 seconds and 1,990 seconds. However, as he enters his 70 seconds, the story of his life has shifted, marked by personal and professional difficulties that have made his later years deeply tragic. The heartbreak surrounding Costner is not of scandal or criminal activity, but of the quiet, painful struggles that he has had to endure. The first aspect of Costner's tragedy lies in his personal life. In 2023, after 18 years of marriage to Christine Baumgartner, Costner's world was turned upside down by their divorce. The dissolution of their relationship was not only emotionally devastating but also legally complicated, with a drawn-out court battle over child support and custody. For a man who had built a seemingly perfect life, this separation has been a harsh reminder of the fragility of relationships. Costner's divorce, though not unusual in the world of celebrities, became a deeply sorrowful chapter in his life, especially when reports began to surface about his strained relationships with his children. The pain of a broken family at this stage of his life is something that Costner, once a symbol of stability on and off the screen, never expected. Adding to the weight of these personal issues are the health challenges Costner faces as he grows older. While the specifics of his health struggles remain private, it's clear that aging has taken its toll. In his prime, Costner was the epitome of rugged strength, portraying heroic figures that embodied physical endurance. Yet, now, as the years pass, those who once admired his strength must come to terms with his vulnerability. It's a heartbreaking transformation for fans who once saw him as an untouchable figure of grace and power. Costner's professional life has not been immune to the impact of his personal struggles. Once one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, his career has seen its share of ups and downs in recent years. His involvement in the hit series Yellowstone seemed like a resurgence for the actor. But reports indicate that tensions with the production, as well as with co-stars, have made his time on the show increasingly strained. In addition, several of his recent film projects failed to perform well at the box office, contributing to the decline of his once flourishing career. The man who was once the face of blockbuster hits now finds himself in the shadow of past successes. With his professional life far from the high point it once was, the tragic nature of Costner's later years isn't defined by his loss of fame, but by the personal and professional turmoil that has defined them. It's the contrast between the energetic and inspiring persona he once projected and the quieter, more painful struggles he faces now. As he grapples with the inevitable challenges that come with aging, his journey serves as a reminder of the often unseen heartbreak that can come with fame and success. For many, witnessing this shift is heartbreaking, as they remember a team when Costner was synonymous with success and happiness. As Kevin Costner continues to navigate his 70 seconds, his life has become a tragic reflection of the complexities of fame, aging, and personal loss. The challenges he faces today are not the loud, public scandals often associated with celebrities, but rather the subtle, devastating realities of growing older in the public eye. His story is not just one of personal struggle, but a stark reminder of the emotional toll that fame and fortune can exact on an individual, no matter how successful they once were. A broken family. Perhaps the most painful aspect of Costner's current tragedy lies in the dissolution of his marriage to Christine Baumgartner in 2023. The couple had been together for 18 years, raising 3 children together, and appeared to be living a dream life in the public eye. However, behind the scenes, their relationship was crumbling, culminating in a very public divorce. This was not a simple separation. It involved lengthy legal battles over child support and custody. What makes it especially tragic is that this marks a significant shift from the man who once portrayed loving fathers and devoted husbands in the movies. The legal drama surrounding the divorce made headlines, but the emotional fallout for Costner was far more devastating. As a public figure, the breakdown of his family became fodder for gossip and speculation, something he had little control over. For a man who spent much of his career playing family-oriented roles, it must have been heartbreaking to witness the breakdown of his own. The situation was made even more difficult by the estrangement from his children that followed. Reports suggested that Costner's relationship with his children became strained during and after the divorce, amplifying the sense of loneliness and isolation he must have felt. Divorce, especially after such a long marriage, is an emotional and psychological challenge for anyone. But for Costner, it was made even more difficult by the constant media attention. While the public watched his family fall apart, Costner was left to pick up the pieces of his personal life in front of an unforgiving audience. For many, this represents the most tragic element of his story. A man who once seemed to have it all, now confronted with the painful realities of lost love and the fracturing of the family he worked so hard to build, health struggles, and the aging process. As Costner moves further into his 70 seconds, another aspect of his life that has become more evident is the toll that aging has taken on Chaim. While Costner has always been known for his rugged, tough guy image, particularly in films like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Postman, the reality of aging has slowly crept in. Though he has not publicly disclosed specific health issues, it is clear from interviews and his public appearances that the physical and mental toll of aging has affected him. The once vibrant and energetic actor who had captivated audiences with his larger-than-life performances now faces the inevitable decline that comes with age. For a man who once embodied vitality and strength, this transformation can be particularly difficult to accept. The physical demands of acting, especially the intense action scenes he was known for in his earlier career, have taken their toll. Costner's presence on screen has become more subdued, reflecting the quiet reality of aging. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of his health struggles is the way in which they serve as a reminder of the passage of time. The actor who once seemed immortal is now confronting the same limitations that affect everyone as they grow older. For his fans, witnessing this decline is a poignant reminder that even the most legendary figures in Hollywood are not exempt from the ravages of time. Costner's aging process, once hidden behind his youthful energy and iconic roles, is now an undeniable part of his public identity, professional setbacks, and the decline of a career. In addition to his personal and health struggles, Costner's professional life has also seen a decline in recent years. While he remains a respected figure in Hollywood, the glory days of his career seem far behind him. In the 1990 seconds and early 2000s, Costner was a box office draw and a critical darling, with films like Dances with Wolves, which earned him 2 Academy Awards, The Bodyguard, and Field of Dreams, cementing his place in cinematic history. However, the last 2 decades have been far less kind to him. Costner's involvement in the hit TV series Yellowstone offered a brief return to prominence, but even that has not been without its difficulties. Reports have surfaced of tensions between Costner and the show's producers, as well as with his co-stars. In addition to the off-screen drama, Costner's growing dissatisfaction with his role in the series became evident. His absence from the final season of Yellowstone sparked rumors of a possible exit from the show. For many fans, this was the first indication that Costner's career was no longer the unstoppable force it once was. Beyond Yellowstone, many of Costner's recent film projects have failed to meet commercial or critical expectations. Films that once would have been assured box office successes have struggled to make a mark. Costner, whose name used to guarantee a certain level of success, now finds he himself in a much different position. The pressure to maintain a high level of success in Hollywood is immense, and the inability to recapture past glory can be deeply discouraging for someone who once dominated the industry. The professional setbacks Costner has experienced are another part of the tragedy of his later years, as they contrast sharply with the towering figure he once was. The weight of legacy. One of the saddest aspects of Costner's story is the sense that his legacy is slowly slipping away. Although he remains an iconic figure in the entertainment industry, the decline of his career and personal life has complicated the way he is remembered. Costner's legacy, once built on monumental successes and beloved performances, now feels overshadowed by his personal tragedies and professional setbacks. As fans look back at Costner's illustrious career, they remember the man who gave them unforgettable performances in The Untouchables, Dances with Wolves, and Waterworld. However, the passage of T-May and the difficulties he has faced in his personal life have begun to define the later chapters of his life. Costner's enduring legacy is still intact, but the tragedy of his later years is hard to ignore. The public's perception of him has shifted, and what was once an image of strength and success has now become one of vulnerability and loss. In conclusion, the tragedy of Kevin Costner's life as he enters his 70s is a complex mixture of personal pain, health struggles, professional setbacks, and the inevitable process of aging. The man who once captivated audiences with his strength, charm, and determination is now confronted with the same hardships that affect everyone: personal loss, aging, and the decline of a career. For his fans, this transformation is heartbreaking, as they watch a once great star wrestle with the weight of T-May. Costner's story is a reminder that no matter how successful or beloved a person may be, the human experience is one of inevitable change, and sometimes the brightest stars are the most painful to watch fade. As Kevin Costner faces the third act of his life, the story of his tragic decline continues to unfold in ways that reflect not just the sadness of personal and professional loss, but also the melancholy truth that fame and success cannot shield a person from life's harshest realities. The tragedy of Costner is not a sudden fall from grace, but a slow, heartbreaking unraveling, a reminder that even the most celebrated figures must contend with the passage of T-May and the weight of personal and professional struggles. Struggling with public perception. One of the most painful aspects of Costner's later years is the shift in public perception. At his peak, he was the epitome of the Hollywood leading man, dashing, heroic, and dependable. His characters embodied strength, leadership, and charisma, traits that made Chaim beloved to millions. But as his personal life has unraveled, and his career has hit roadblocks, the public's view of Chaim has changed. This is a tragic consequence of celebrity. The world watches, comments, and critiques every part of your life, no matter how deeply personal. The shift in perception is especially hard for a man who built his career on roles that portrayed Chaim as a figure of power and resilience. In movies like The Bodyguard, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Untouchables, Costner was the dependable hero who saved the day. someone whose strength could overcome any obstacle. However, in recent years, it is this very image that has been shaken by his struggles in real life. The actor who once seemed indomitable now appears vulnerable, not just because of his personal pain, but because of the public's changing expectations. There is a peculiar kind of heartbreak that comes with this shift. It is not just the pain of watching someone you admire struggle, but the awareness that they are no longer the person they once were in the public's eyes. For Costner, this may be the hardest part of his personal tragedy, no longer seen as the icon he once was, but as someone grappling with the same human flaws that affect us all. Fans and critics alike now view Hayam with a mixture of sympathy and pity, and sometimes this makes the pain even more pronounced. It's as if Costner's eye image as a symbol of strength has been stripped away, leaving a man exposed to the scrutiny of a public that once adored Hayam. The weight of personal loss. For many people, the real tragedy of aging lies in the increasing weight of personal loss. As Costner enters his 72nd, he is faced with the accumulation of experiences that have left him with few untouched relationships. The divorce from Baumgartner, the strained relationship with his children, and the difficulty of reconciling with the realities of aging all compound the sense of loss that Costner must feel on a daily basis. These personal losses are not just abstract notions, they are lived experiences that Costner faces in the privacy of his own life. Away from the cameras and public eye, while the world may focus on his professional failures or the tabloid headlines that surround his personal life, the most significant losses are those that affect him on a deeper, more personal level. The loss of a marriage, the fracturing of family relationships, and the inevitable passage of May all contribute to a profound sense of grief. For Costner, this grief is likely compounded by the awareness that May is running out, not just in terms of his career, but also in terms of the personal connections that are often the most fulfilling aspects of life. This sense of loss is a universal experience, but it takes on added poignancy when viewed through the lens of a celebrity. Costner, who once seemed to have it all: fame, wealth, a beautiful family, and an iconic career, now finds himself in a more vulnerable position, facing the kind of emotional upheaval that most people experience privately. Away from the glare of public attention, the pain of personal loss, for someone in Costner's position, is amplified by the fact that it is played out under the watchful eyes of the world. The difficulty of moving forward. For many individuals facing such profound personal and professional setbacks, the most difficult part is figuring out how to move forward. In Costner's case, the challenge is even more complex. With decades of success behind him, moving forward doesn't just mean embarking on new projects or finding new relationships. It means reconciling with the person he has become and accepting the limitations that come with aging. Costner's struggle with moving forward is perhaps most evident in his approach to his career. While he has had a few successful projects in recent years, the thrill of success has eluded him. He is no longer the blockbuster star he once was, and his recent attempts to recapture that fame have faltered. He has always been a man of great ambition, someone who worked tirelessly to achieve success. But now, the nature of his ambition has changed. It is no longer about the fame or the accolades, it is about finding peace, both with himself and with his past. This is where Costner's story becomes truly tragic. While many actors face career declines in their later years, Costner's has been accompanied by the crushing weight of personal loss and the relentless march of May. The very thing that once brought him joy and fulfillment, his work in film, has become a reminder of what he has lost. Not just in terms of success, but in terms of the person he used to be. The question of how to move forward is further complicated by the fact that Costner's career will never again reach the heights it once did. For many actors, the realization that they are no longer the star of the show can be difficult to accept. For someone like Costner, whose career was built on leading roles in major films, this realization is even more painful. The acting world has moved on, and Costner must now navigate a landscape where his name no longer carries the same weight. This is not just a crisis of career, it's a crisis of identity. Who is Kevin Costner without the fame, without the roles, without the adoration of millions? Moving forward for him isn't just about finding new opportunities, it's about finding a new sense of self. This is a journey that many people face in their later years, but it is made more difficult for someone whose sense of self was once so tightly tied to their public persona. Reflection and legacy. As Costner continues to navigate this difficult chapter in his life, one question lingers: how will his legacy be remembered? Will he be remembered for his great achievements in film and television? Or will his personal struggles ultimately define him? The legacy of any celebrity is often shaped by their final years, as fans and critics alike reflect on the life they led. For Costner, this will likely be a mixed legacy. He will always be remembered as one of Hollywood's most iconic actors, someone whose films shaped a generation. However, his later years will inevitably be part of the narrative. How people choose to remember him will depend on their ability to see beyond the personal setbacks and focus on the work he created. In the end, the tragedy of Kevin Costner's life is not that he has lost everything, but that he has lost so much while the world watched. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars fade. And sometimes, the most painful part of growing older is coming to terms with the fact that time has moved on, and with it, the life we once knew. As Kevin Costner enters his 72nd, the tragedy of his life has become a deeply reflective story, layered with both heartache and profound insight into the human condition. The image of the once indomitable movie star, celebrated for his charismatic performances in films such as Dances with Wolves and The Bodyguard, has gradually transformed into one of quiet sadness. While Costner remains an iconic figure, his life now stands as a testament to the personal struggles that even the most famous and successful celebrities are not immune to. Costner's story is an especially poignant one because it highlights the slow, devastating toll that time, personal failure, and changing public perceptions can have on a person, no matter how bright their past may have been. The dissonance between public image and private pain. One of the most profound elements of Costner's current tragedy is the dissonance between his public image and his private pain. For decades, he was the embodiment of Hollywood masculinity, strong, heroic, and emotionally steady. Whether he was playing a solitary cowboy in Dances with Wolves or the suave protector in The Bodyguard, Costner's on-screen presence was one of calm control, strength, and charisma. These roles helped shape the image of the man that the public adored and admired. In his prime, Costner was the picture of confidence, with an air of invincibility that many young fans sought to emulate. However, as his personal life and career faltered, this carefully curated public image has slowly cracked. The collapse of his marriage to Christine Baumgartner, his strained relationships with his children, and the diminishing returns of his film career have become part of the narrative. This dissonance between his public persona and the private pain that he endures is what makes Costner's story so tragic. It is a reminder that fame does not shield a person from the inevitable emotional and psychological struggles that come with aging and personal loss. Costner's public life has long been under the microscope, and now, with his personal trials on display for the world to see. It is impossible to ignore the contrast. The man who once epitomized the strength of his characters now must navigate the quiet suffering that many experience behind closed doors. This sharp contrast is what makes his later years particularly heartbreaking. The persona of the fearless. The heroic figure has been overshadowed by the realities of divorce, health issues, and professional setbacks. The struggle of aging in the spotlight. Aging in the public eye is particularly difficult. For Costner, the fact that his fame is built on youthful roles that emphasized vigor and endurance only adds weight to the burden of getting older. The physicality that made him a leading man has slowly faded, and with it, the vitality that fans once adored. Aging in Hollywood, particularly for male actors, can be challenging, as their roles in action films or romantic leads often dwindle, and they are left to navigate a new phase of their careers. For someone like Costner, who once commanded the screen with his magnetic presence and physical prowess, this transition can be especially jarring. While his acting career has not ended, he continues to appear in roles, including his prominent part in the series Yellowstone. His recent projects have been far from the blockbusters of his heyday. Rather than being at the forefront of Hollywood's biggest films, Costner is now relegated to smaller, less high-profile roles. This shift is not only a professional setback, but also a reflection of how age can alter an actor's place in the industry. Moreover, Costner's battle with aging is not just a physical one. There is the emotional toll of confronting one's own mortality and the inevitable loss of past glory. As an actor who once had the world at his feet, it must be a painful experience to grapple with the fact that the roles and the fame he once enjoyed are no longer as accessible. For someone who was once on top of the world, the sense of decline must be especially difficult to process. Hollywood is known for its obsession with youth and beauty, and Costner, like so many others, has not escaped the effects of this relentless pursuit of novelty, financial strain, and legal battles. In addition to his personal and professional struggles, Costner has faced significant financial and legal battles, which have only added to the heartbreak of his later years. His divorce from Baumgartner in 2023 was not only a deeply emotional experience, but also a public spectacle, involving a lengthy legal battle over child support and the division of assets. Costner, who had accumulated wealth from decades of acting and producing, now finds he himself embroiled in financial negotiations that highlight the challenges that come with divorce, particularly when it is played out under the public's scrutiny. While he had built a substantial fortune over the years, the financial obligations stemming from his divorce and the fallout from his legal battles with his ex-wife have placed a strain on his resources. The cost of supporting his family, particularly in the wake of his divorce, has added to the emotional stress of an already tumultuous period. Additionally, the financial burden of maintaining his lifestyle and business ventures has added to the complexity of his situation. While Costner is still wealthy by most standards, the financial repercussions of his divorce, legal disputes, and the struggles associated with aging have created a situation where, despite his wealth, he is fighting to preserve the lifestyle he once enjoyed. This is another tragic aspect of Costner's current reality. The man who once had everything is now forced to navigate the difficult terrain of financial instability and the consequences of personal decisions, redemption, and hope for the future. Despite the overwhelming tragedy that surrounds Costner in his 70 seconds, there remains a glimmer of hope. Throughout his career, Costner has proven himself to be a resilient figure. Even in the face of professional setbacks and personal turmoil, he has continued to push forward. While he may never reclaim the superstar status he once held, Costner's ability to reinvent himself and find new creative outlets offers a chance for redemption. His role in Yellowstone, although fraught with tension, has allowed Chaim to remain relevant in the entertainment industry. The show has garnered a loyal fan base, and Costner's portrayal of the patriarchal figure of John Dutton has earned Chaim praise. Even as he faced personal difficulties, the show's success demonstrates that there is still an audience for his work, and it offers Chaim a platform to showcase his talents in a new light. Furthermore, Costner's continued involvement in various projects, such as his work in music and film production, suggests that he is still passionate about the craft he has loved for decades. While he may not be the leading man in Hollywood's biggest films anymore, he has demonstrated that his passion for storytelling and his ability to create meaningful work remains undiminished. This resilience is a testament to his character and a sign that, despite the challenges of aging, Costner is still willing to embrace the opportunities that come his way. Conclusion: a life marked by tragedy and triumph. The story of Kevin Costner in his 70 seconds is undeniably tragic, marked by personal loss, professional decline, and the inevitable realities of aging. However, it is also a story of resilience, a testament to the human ability to endure even in the face of overwhelming adversity. While his fall from the heights of stardom may be painful to witness, it is important to remember that Costner's life has been one of extraordinary achievement, and his legacy remains significant. In the end, the tragedy of Costner's life is not that he has lost everything, but that he has lost so much while the world watched. His story is a reminder of the complexity of human experience, where triumph and tragedy often coexist. While his current struggles are heart-wrenching, they do not erase the profound impact that Costner has had on cinema and on the lives of those who admire his work. As he moves forward, perhaps there will be new opportunities for growth, healing, and redemption, proof that even in the face of hardship, hope can still shine through. Kevin Costner's journey in his 70 seconds stands as a powerful narrative of resilience and loss, a tale that continues to unfold with new chapters of personal and professional turmoil. As the once celebrated movie star battles through the trials of aging, personal failure, and public scrutiny, his story evokes sympathy, admiration, and a deep sense of sorrow. But beyond the apparent tragedy, Costner's life, marked by undeniable highs and heartbreaking lows, raises profound questions about the nature of fame, legacy, and the relentless passage of time. The pain of watching the fall from grace. For fans and the public, one of the most painful aspects of Costner's current situation is the dramatic contrast between his past glory and present struggle. In the late 1,980 seconds and 1,990 seconds, Kevin Costner was synonymous with blockbuster success, leading roles, and critical acclaim. His portrayal of the brave and dignified Lieutenant Dunbar in Dances with Wolves earned him Academy Awards, while his turn as the lead in The Bodyguard solidified his place in Hollywood's A-list. Costner's strong, the stoic presence on screen earned Chaim the adoration of millions, and his stardom seemed like an unbreakable fixture in the entertainment world. Yet, as time has passed, the spotlight that once shone so brightly on Costner has dimmed. The roles that once made him a household name have been replaced by less prominent projects. Films that may have once been assured successes now struggle to gain attention at the box office. Even his involvement in the hit series Yellowstone, a show that revitalized his career, has been overshadowed by personal issues and on-set tensions. Watching someone once at the pinnacle of his career descend from that position is not only heartbreaking, but also a reminder of the fickle nature of fame. Costner, for all his achievements, is not exempt from the natural decline that comes with age, and the public's ever-changing tastes. For many fans, watching the fall from grace of someone they once admired is a difficult pill to swallow. While Costner's struggles are hardly unique in Hollywood, they strike a chord because his career was so closely tied to notions of invincibility and strength. To see him confront such personal and professional battles feels like watching a once immense figure slowly crumble. This aspect of Costner's tragedy lies not only in the reality of his struggles, but in the emotional burden placed on his admirers as they come to terms with the fact that even the greatest stars are susceptible to the passage of time, the inevitable challenges it brings. The impact of divorce and family strain. One of the most difficult aspects of Costner's later years has been the painful dissolution of his marriage to Christine Baumgartner. After 18 years of marriage, their separation in 2023 became one of the most publicized divorces in Hollywood. A situation that was exacerbated by lengthy legal battles over child support and the division of assets. Costner, once the embodiment of a loving father and devoted husband in his films, now found himself navigating the heartbreak of a broken marriage in real life. The legal and emotional fallout of the divorce, combined with the strain on his relationship with his children, has become a key part of his personal tragedy. This situation has not just been a private matter, but one that has been paraded in the public eye, adding to the pain and making it difficult for Costner to shield himself from the judgment of the world. Divorce is never easy, but for a public figure like Costner, it is an especially harsh ordeal. His family life, once so seemingly perfect, now reflects the fragility of personal connections and the high price that comes with living under constant media scrutiny. The strain on Costner's relationship with his children is perhaps the most poignant aspect of his personal life in crisis. While some reports suggest that his children have distanced themselves from him, the reasons behind this estrangement remain private. What's clear, however, is that the dissolution of his marriage has had a lasting impact on his family dynamics. For a man who spent much of his career portraying heroic, fatherly figures, the reality of facing emotional distance from his own children is a profound and painful irony. Health struggles and the loss of physicality. As Costner grapples with the emotional and psychological weight of his personal struggles, his physical health has also become a significant concern. Aging, for any individual, brings with it inevitable changes. But for someone who was once defined by his physicality and presence on screen, these changes are particularly difficult to accept. The rugged, action hero persona that he built his career on is no longer sustainable, and the toll of aging has begun to show. Costner's health struggles, while largely kept private, are becoming increasingly evident. It is likely that the years of physical demands placed on Hyam during his most physically demanding roles, such as Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Postman, have taken their toll. For an actor who once exuded vitality and strength, dealing with the limitations that come with aging can be a source of profound sadness. Watching the actor, who once seemed immortal, now confront the reality of physical decline is yet another heart-wrenching element of his story. The emotional toll of facing aging and health issues cannot be understated. For someone like Costner, who once relied on his physical presence as a central part of his identity, the loss of that physicality is a painful reminder of how much has changed. The decline in his physical abilities, coupled with the emotional strain of his personal life, creates a dual burden that must be exhausting. Aging, particularly in the public eye, can be a cruel reminder of one's vulnerability. And for Costner, the challenge is not just about losing his youthful appearance, but also about confronting the inevitable realities that affect everyone, no matter their status or fame. A lingering legacy amidst tragedy. Despite the personal struggles and professional setbacks that have marked Costner's life in his 70 seconds, his legacy remains undeniable. While the tragedy of his later years is evident, it does not erase the immense impact he has had on the entertainment industry. Costner's legacy as a director, actor, and producer is secure, and his contributions to cinema, particularly through Dances with Wolves, a film that not only defined his career but also won him multiple Academy Awards, ensure that he will always be remembered as one of Hollywood's greats. However, the true tragedy lies in the question of how his legacy will be remembered. Will it be overshadowed by the pain of his personal life and the disintegration of his career? Or will his iconic performances and the cultural impact of his work endure, ultimately defining his place in history? The answer, perhaps, depends on how future generations choose to reflect on his life. Costner's career, marked by early success, now faces a more uncertain future. While his role in Yellowstone has allowed him to remain in the public eye, it remains to be seen whether this will be enough to sustain his legacy in the long run. The public's memory of him may shift from the powerful, charismatic leading man of Dances with Wolves to the somber, reflective figure facing the trials of aging and personal loss. For now, the bittersweet reality of Costner's life is that he is trapped in a delicate balance between past glory and current hardship. The human story beyond fame. In the end, the story of Kevin Costner in his 70 seconds is not just one of Hollywood fame and tragedy, it is the story of a human being, like all of us, facing the difficult and painful realities of life, aging, and loss. The tragedy of Costner's life is not defined solely by his career decline or his personal setbacks. It is about the universal experience of grappling with the passage of time and the inevitability of change. For many, Costner's story will serve as a reminder that even those who seem to have it all, fame, fortune, admiration, are not exempt from the hardships that come with being human. His journey reflects the challenges that everyone faces, even if those struggles are often obscured by the glittering lights of Hollywood. Costner's tragedy, then, is not unique, but a reflection of the common human experience. Through it all, one must hope that he will find a way to reconcile with his past, rebuild what he can, and embrace the later years of his life with the dignity and strength he once brought to the screen. Kevin Costner's life, particularly as he reaches his 70 seconds, continues to serve as a poignant reminder of the fragility of success, the inevitable passage of time, and the relentless trials of personal and professional life. As we reflect on the trajectory of his life, from his rise to stardom to the pain he faces now, it's clear that the narrative of Costner's later years is shaped by far more than the fame and fortune he once enjoyed. His story is a human one, a story that transcends the glittering lights of Hollywood and speaks to the common struggles of aging, loss, and resilience. A changing relationship with Hollywood. Costner's relationship with Hollywood has always been complex. During his prime, he was one of the most recognizable faces in the industry, with a string of hit films that ranged from epic dramas like Dances with Wolves to action-packed blockbusters like The Bodyguard and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. His charisma, rugged good looks, and versatility as an actor placed him at the forefront of Hollywood stardom. However, as time passed, the industry began to evolve, and with it, the roles that were once plentiful for Costner became less frequent. The 2000s marked the beginning of a shift in Costner's career. The films that had once made Chaim a box office sensation began to underperform, and his roles were less high-profile. This is not uncommon in Hollywood, where the industry is often quick to move on to newer, younger stars. However, for Costner, this change was particularly painful because his identity had long been tied to the larger-than-life characters he portrayed, men of strength, honor, and leadership. The aging process is cruel in an industry that glorifies youth, and Costner's struggle to maintain relevance in Hollywood mirrors that of many actors who once commanded the screen but now find themselves in more subdued roles. Even with his prominent role in Yellowstone, a series that brought Chaim back into the public eye, Costner's connection to Hollywood remains fractured. Tensions behind the scenes of the show have added to the emotional and psychological toll of his later years. The complex dynamics of working on a high-stakes project like Yellowstone, along with his personal challenges, reflect a shift in his relationship with the industry. Costner is no longer the eager young star, but a man who is reconciling with the reality that the Hollywood landscape is not the same as it once was for Chaim. This reality check is not just about losing movie roles, but confronting the deeper emotional impacts of seeing his place in the industry. Shift from a leading man to a more peripheral figure. The harsh spotlight on personal struggles. Another aspect of Costner's tragedy lies in the public nature of his personal struggles. The dissolution of his marriage. The financial battles. The strained relationship with his children. These are not just private matters for Costner. They have been played out in front of the cameras, splashed across tabloids, and dissected by fans and critics alike. In many ways, Costner's experiences have become a public spectacle, forcing him to navigate his heartbreak under the unforgiving gaze of the media. For many celebrities, the public's fascination with their personal lives can be exhausting. But for Costner, the exposure of his private pain has undoubtedly been a significant burden. His divorce and its aftermath have become a focal point of media attention, a constant reminder of the dissolution of his once promising personal life. The same media that once glorified his successes now chronicles his failures and emotional distress. The loneliness and vulnerability that accompany aging, particularly when coupled with such a public life, are exacerbated by the constant scrutiny. However, beyond the immediate media frenzy, there is a more universal sadness to Costner's story. His personal challenges, while amplified by his fame, reflect the struggles that many face in their own lives. Aging, divorce, and the challenges of navigating personal relationships are all a part of the human experience. Costner's story, when viewed through this lens, becomes less about the failure of a celebrity and more about the emotional turmoil that even the most celebrated individuals must face. The tragedy lies in the fact that no matter how famous or successful someone is, they are not immune to the human condition, the fragility of relationships, the passage of time, and the loss of personal joy. The search for meaning in a changing world. At the heart of Costner's story in his 70 seconds is the question of meaning, both in terms of his professional endeavors and his personal life. For much of his career, Costner was driven by a desire to entertain, to be remembered for his performances, and to leave behind a lasting legacy in the entertainment industry. His work on films like Dances with Wolves and The Untouchables is undoubtedly his most lasting contribution to the world, and he remains highly respected for his achievements as both an actor and director. But as Costner has aged, his motivations have likely evolved. The desire for recognition and fame, which once fueled his ambition, has given way to a more introspective search for personal fulfillment. In his later years, Costner may be grappling with questions about the value of his past accomplishments and how they fit into the larger narrative of his life. The notion of legacy is something that many people, particularly those who have lived in the public eye, struggle with. For Costner, his legacy as a filmmaker and actor is undoubtedly secure, but it's likely that as he confronts the challenges of aging, personal loss, and professional setbacks, the question of how he wants to be remembered will weigh heavily on Chaim. Does he want to be remembered for his iconic roles? Or does he seek something deeper, a sense of peace and reconciliation in his personal life? This search for meaning may also be reflected in his creative output. In the wake of his struggles, Costner has continued to work in various creative fields, including directing, producing, and music. He has spoken in interviews about his love for storytelling and his desire to continue creating, despite the challenges that come with aging. Even as the roles he takes on become fewer, Costner's passion for his craft remains intact. This search for meaning through creation, whether in the form of film, music, or other artistic endeavors, suggests that Costner has not given up on his desire to make a lasting impact on the world. His creative pursuits in his later years are a testament to the fact that, while personal hardships may define his present, his ambition and love for his craft remain a central part of his identity. The quiet resilience of a fallen star. While the tragedy of Kevin Costner's later years is undeniable, there is also a quiet resilience in his journey. Despite the personal heartaches and professional setbacks, Costner has shown remarkable perseverance. He continues to work, to create, and to remain relevant in a world that often seems quick to forget its older stars. This resilience is something that speaks to the strength of his character, an inner resolve that has allowed him to push forward even when it would have been easier to retreat. Costner's resilience can also be seen in his willingness to adapt to new challenges. The entertainment industry has changed dramatically over the past few decades, and it is a testament to Costner's enduring ability to adapt that he has found a place in the modern television landscape through Yellowstone. Although the show's success is partly due to the work of many talented individuals, Costner's portrayal of John Dutton has earned Chaim renewed respect. He may no longer be the young, energetic movie star of the 1,990 seconds, but his continued presence in the industry shows that even after the greatest peaks, it is possible to reinvent oneself. Moreover, Costner's resilience is reflected in his willingness to confront the personal struggles that have shaped his later years. Divorce, aging, and professional setbacks could have easily led Chaim to retreat from the public eye altogether. But instead, he has persisted, continuing to work and share his journey with the world. In many ways, this quiet resilience, this refusal to give up or disappear, adds a layer of dignity to the tragedy of his story. The enduring influence of Costner's legacy. As Kevin Costner faces the twilight years of his life, the tragedy of his journey is not that he has fallen from grace, but that even someone as successful as he was can be overtaken by the passage of time. Yet, the enduring influence of his work, his films, his storytelling, and his contributions to the industry ensures that he will always be remembered as a key figure in cinematic history. Though Costner's later years may be defined by personal loss and professional difficulties, his legacy remains, etched in the hearts and minds of those who admire his work. His story is one of both tragedy and triumph, reminding us that fame and success come with their own set of challenges, but also that even in the face of adversity, one's impact on the world can be profound and lasting. As he moves forward, it is clear that Costner will continue to confront the trials of aging and personal loss with the same quiet strength that has marked his life. and in doing so, he will remain a figure to admire, not just for his past accomplishments, but for the resilience with which he faces the challenges of today. As Kevin Costner continues into his 70 seconds, his life narrative becomes a reflection of both the triumphs and tragedies of a celebrated Hollywood career, and the inevitable hardships that come with aging. His rise to fame and the immense heights he once reached in his career remain part of his lasting legacy. However, as time goes on, the reality of personal struggles, professional shifts, and the deep vulnerability that aging brings has redefined his later years. The burden of fame and legacy. One of the most striking aspects of Costner's later years is the burden of fame and the changing perception of his legacy. As a Hollywood star who once dominated the box office with films like Dances with Wolves, The Bodyguard, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Costner became a symbol of strength, charisma, and romanticized masculinity. His remarkable success as an actor and filmmaker cemented his place in cinema history. However, as time wears on, the shifting nature of fame has become a double-edged sword. The once celebrated actor now faces an evolving public perception, marked by an inevitable sense of decline as his career slows and his personal life faces scrutiny. The tragedy lies in the fact that the glory of past achievements often gets overshadowed by current struggles. The media, fans, and the entertainment industry as a whole tend to focus on the hardships of aging stars, often forgetting the legacy of the work they've left behind. Costner's later years have seen him fighting against the very thing that once made him invincible. The passage of time, personal struggles, and the weight of family dynamics. Costner's divorce from Christine Baumgartner and the ensuing legal battles, along with his strained relationship with his children, highlight the personal struggles that have become central to his life in his later years. These issues serve as a stark contrast to the loving, heroic roles he once portrayed on screen. While the public may have long admired his family man image, the reality of personal failure and heartbreak brings a raw humanity to the man who had been elevated to the status of Hollywood legend. Divorce is an emotional upheaval for anyone, but for Costner, the media's focus on his personal life and the public nature of his separation has compounded the pain. The emotional toll on Costner, especially given his standing as a role model for many, is undeniable. It is impossible to overlook the fact that, at this stage in his life, the man who once had it all is now navigating profound personal loss, with his family fractured in ways that are likely impossible to repair. Navigating the challenges of aging and health. Another major factor in Costner's tragic story is the physical toll that aging has taken on him. As someone who once commanded attention on screen with his strength, endurance, and on-screen vitality, the inevitable process of aging is a sobering reminder of the passage of time. Health issues, though not widely discussed, have been hinted at through interviews and public appearances. The transition from the physically demanding roles of his earlier career to the more introspective, quieter roles of today marks a shift not just in the industry's perception of him, but in his own understanding of who he is. Aging in Hollywood is not just about losing roles. It's about coming to terms with a body that no longer responds in the way it once did. And the emotional difficulty of that transition is something that even the most resilient stars must face. For Costner, a man whose on-screen presence was so defined by his vitality, this shift is deeply personal. It represents a loss of the very essence of the persona that made Chaim a household name. A final chapter defined by resilience. As Costner enters this final chapter of his life, there is something undeniably resilient in how he has handled his personal and professional challenges. While it is clear that his glory days in Hollywood are behind him, his commitment to continue working, creating, and pushing forward reflects a spirit that refuses to be defined by past losses. Whether it's his continued involvement in Yellowstone or his passion for storytelling through film and music, Costner's ability to adapt and continue pursuing his artistic endeavors is a testament to the strength of his character. Ultimately, Costner's legacy will be a complex one, woven with both the brilliance of his cinematic achievements and the vulnerability that comes with aging and personal loss. His journey reminds us that, no matter how much fame, success, or recognition one may achieve, the human experience of love, loss, and resilience remains universal. His story is a powerful reminder that we all must confront the inevitable challenges of life. But it's how we navigate those challenges that ultimately defines us.